Hey everyone, Harry here to talk about the weekend announcement of a settlement in the defamation suit that Donald Trump brought against ABC and George Stephanopoulos. This is, I'm sorry to say, big, bad, even dreadful news in the overall march toward authoritarian rule by Trump. Look, I've talked about the press before in my resignation letter from the LA Times, but tried to sketch out why we are at such a very, very difficult juncture with Trump moving successfully on the main guardrails that are designed to and have in decades past always constrained the president from excessive aggregation of power and the constitutional erosion that can give rise to. So it's not just all three branches of government. Look what's happening with the FBI, the cardinal principle that the president can't influence the FBI pretty much out the window now with the firing of Ray's acquiescence and the plan to put in Kash Patel, of all people, the military, one of the entities that stood up against him in 2020, looking to put in some handpicked people and get rid of people who were, like all these targets of Trump, absolutely blameless and just doing their job. And he's making the principle of you haven't been loyal enough to me the governing principle of the United States. Any slight, however slight, including, for example, people who questioned whether during the assassination attempt he was hit in the air by a bullet, which he never permitted the public to confirm, or shrapnel. That's the kind of thing that gets his goat and that he is moving against, and successfully. So this is really a foreboding development. All right, so ABC, they over the weekend settled the case on favorable terms to Trump. Really a sweetheart deal. They give him $15 million to a presidential foundation, which is chump change for everyone, and lawyers' fees, and a kind of a muddled expression of regret. But from where the case stood, there's no doubt that Trump prevailed in a way that would never have happened under the we've taken as sacrosanct principles and practices of big media before Trump was on the verge of returning to power. So let me just sketch out. I've got a really long account of this in my Substack. And I think it's essential to really dig to understand why ABC and its parent company, Disney, was really departing from standard practice in settling the case. But basically, George Stephanopoulos, in an interview with Nancy Mace, a South Carolina representative who's supportive of Trump, Stephanopoulos questions her and says, how can you, a rape survivor, and she has been open about being a rape survivor at least in recent years. It was when she was 16, but she's now been forthcoming in part to advance the cause of legislation protecting survivors and combating violence against women. He says, look, how can you be supportive of Trump when he's been held liable by a jury of committing rape, and that was affirmed by a judge? Okay, and it becomes a contentious back and forth, and that basic claim by Stephanopoulos happens a number of times. It is, said Trump when he sued, not accurate because the jury did not find he'd committed rape. They found that he committed sexual assault. All right. Yes, sort of. What the jury found, they had three different options to find battery, which was what she was claiming Trump had done, and she was taking advantage of a New York law that permitted this sort of claim to be revived even for a year window, even if it had happened a long time in the past. And the jury had a few options. They could have gone with rape. They could have gone with assault. They could have gone with a third. They went with assault. And in doing it, they marked their special verdict form. Did she prove by preponderance of evidence that he committed rape? No. But the judge in the case then issued an opinion in response to Trump saying, hey, they didn't even find rape. You should diminish the judgment. And he wrote a long opinion saying, look, they found rape in the common parlance of the term, and this gets into icky details about whether Trump penetrated her with his finger only or with his finger and his penis. So sexual intercourse versus sexual assault. And Kaplan says even the sexual assault conforms to the regular vernacular definition of rape. And so the jury did find that she committed rape, and I deny your motion, Trump. Okay, now you can say what you will about Kaplan's analysis. Maybe it seems strained. But when Stephanopoulos is saying the judge affirmed a finding of rape, and he does it in black and white, it certainly makes it a challenge, I think, for Trump to prove that, as you have to, under New York Times versus Sullivan, A, that it was a false statement, because to say the judge affirmed that it was rape is true. And so you have to parse it more finely and somehow say, go to the level of what the New York Penal Code says. And also you have to show that Stephanopoulos knew it was false or was recklessly indifferent to whether it was false. And again, it's the relying on the judge. And in fact, during the interview, as it grew contentious, Stephanopoulos had them display a headline from the Washington Post that says, "Judge affirms that Trump did rape E. Jean Carroll." So for all these reasons, and given the difficulty in general of showing that a media defendant has defamed someone, this is a case, and I've now spoken to several really prominent defamation defense lawyers, that a year ago, 10 years ago, 20 years ago, ABC or its parent company, Disney, would have fought. And so the fact that it didn't, and it entered into this favorable settlement for Trump, I think speaks volumes about the conduct of media companies as they are looking ahead to Trump's taking power imminently. And Trump has promised that he will be very aggressive in going after them, trying to have their licenses yanked. And in fact, he's been true to his word. Just this morning, he announced he's going to sue the Des Moines Register in Iowa because it ran a poll that turned out to be mistaken, inaccurate in estimating how many votes Trump or Harris would get in Iowa. He's going to sue them now and says he has to. There's this really kind of reign of terror. He's also sued CBS for saying they were too warm and fuzzy in their interview with Kamala Harris. All of these are lawsuits that legacy media, prestige media like ABC, CBS, Washington Post would have fought tooth and nail in the past with the best lawyers representing them. And now there's very strong evidence, the ABC settlement, the latest, that they're thinking, geez, maybe we better not do this. He's coming into office, and maybe we don't want to, we want to try to placate him, not keep him angry. And there's a through line here with the conduct of the Washington Post and the LA Times, which I spoke about in my resignation explanation, which is these important prestige papers or media companies are owned now by bigger corporate parents, which have all kinds of assets to worry about. So Bezos doesn't care about the Post exactly, but Amazon, yes. Same with the owner of the LA Times and his multi-billion-dollar holding. Same, it seems to me, with ABC, which is worth $3 to $5 billion, but Disney, the parent company, is worth $100 billion, and you can be damn sure that it was in the boardroom of Disney that the ultimate decision was made to enter into this settlement. So we really have vivid showing in front of our eyes that Trump is carrying on a program of suing promiscuously all kinds of media companies, and that he is succeeding much more serious in actually altering their behavior, which means what? They maybe think twice or three times before saying anything, even if true, that displeases him. And we have just one of the hallmarks of authoritarian society where media is at least somewhat captured by Big Brother and doesn't do anything to displease him. Media becomes state, if not state controlled, at least state influenced in a way that really goes firmly against the grain of how we've thought of media in this country for years, and we've seen their conduct as being an absolute foundation to free speech rights in general and the free press being able to report freely on facts and criticize the government. It's a huge principle that is bedrock to democracy, and democracy and all of us are big losers to the extent it erodes. There's another major point to make here. We're talking ABC, Washington Post, LA Times. If that happens to these big shots with their big shot lawyers and their mammoth resources, think about the actual impact it has on medium-sized papers or smaller outlets, which we know already are in financial distress. Do they observe it and think, uh-oh, we've got to tack a little bit toward pleasing Trump as well, or he's going to come after us? He's made it clear, like the Des Moines Register, because they printed a poll that that pissed him off, really. There's no possible argument that it was somehow false. The poll was the poll. The pollster, a woman named Ann Seltzer, takes a hit for having gotten it wrong. But the civil liability to Trump, where is it? It isn't. But what's this mean? Next time when someone's doing anything, including a poll, that express negative attitudes about Trump or news that he doesn't like, maybe they think twice and maybe they don't do it. So there's, I think, a trickle-down effect from big media to medium and lower. There are, hopefully, like us, really, we're talking Feds is one of the few sort of independent, little engines that could left standing, because even most podcasts and YouTubes where people get their news, I don't know about most, I'm not an expert on the industry, but a lot of them likewise are under the umbrella of big companies. So there are precious few independent companies, and they, of course, could be threatened by any kind of defamation action, although, I can tell you that won't be happening here. But the overall development, the sweetheart deal that ABC authorizes over the weekend, the bottom line here is, if it weren't Trump as the plaintiff, or if he weren't about to ascend to the presidency a second time, it would never have happened. I've had several lawyers confirm that for me, and the fact that it did and now means we are in a world of hurt when it comes to free speech and protection of the media ability to inform the public. And if we're in trouble there, when you look at the other places we're in trouble within government, the press is the ultimate institution from outside of government to blow the whistle. And if their decision about what to report is calibrated in part by fear of what Trump will do, wow, that's a giant step toward Hungary, which, in fact, it's not a arbitrary example. Orban has, used defamation laws aggressively in the same way to go after and partially capture and cow media. So if that's the model we are looking at, all the warnings about Trump's second term look, if anything, understated. This is a bad development. Talk to you later. Thanks for tuning in. If you enjoyed this video and other Talking Feds content, please take a second to like and subscribe. Talk to you later.